Senate passes a bill that cuts Social Security for certain Americans. Now, this comes as a bill in Congress proposal of $200 per month or $2,400 per year for Social Security recipients. I'll let you know where that bill stands. Now, this comes as a June 1st deadline for the debt ceiling crisis to be met has just been announced, which is less than a month away. The big question is, how will the debt ceiling crisis affect your Social Security? I'll give you those details. This comes as the White House is accusing Kevin McCarthy's bill that just went through Congress or the House is now affecting the VA, Veterans Affairs, and gutting it. I'll give you those details, plus some other important updates as well. When it comes to Social Security, there are two opposite sides of the spectrum. There's a bill to increase Social Security, as you can see right here, an extra $2,400 for Social Security recipients through this proposal. Now, this is the expanded Social Security Act, and it is being reintroduced, which means that every time there is a new Congress, a bill, and it doesn't pass, a bill doesn't pass, it has to be reintroduced. Now, this is by Bernie Sanders as well as a few other Democrats for the Social Security Expansion Act. Not only does it give $200 per month or $2,400 per year, but there's a few other measures in it as well to strengthen Social Security. Now, that bill has not been voted on or anything. It's just sitting idle. I guess Congress is trying to figure out this debt ceiling crisis for now, but a bill that did pass, but only for certain Americans, Minnesota Senate passes tax bill with Social Security cuts and one-time rebates. Now, this is just in Minnesota for the Senate, for just the local state government, but it's a precursor to see if this could happen in other states or the country as a whole. So what's going on here in Minnesota and why it's important is that the Senate's tax bill includes reductions on Social Security income tax for most seniors, but doesn't eliminate it entirely, as Republicans have been calling for. In the statement, they're saying the bill includes so many items that I pushed in the session, child tax credit, local government, and a few other things, but basically eliminating Social Security taxes for 76% of Minnesota's seniors. Now, if this is happening in Minnesota, this may happen in other states. A few other states are eyeing this type of proposal as well. So I'll keep you updated in that. Now, it just passed the Senate. It's not officially passed, still has to pass the House and be signed off. So that's what's going on there in terms of a Social Security cut. Now, we have some new news here. Treasury says U.S. will hit debt limit as early as June 1st, sooner than expected. So Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen told Congress the deadline could be a number of weeks later. The narrowing window puts new pressure on lawmakers. So this is season 2 of the debt ceiling crisis. Same thing happened last year. I think it was June 1st as well. The deadline came and went, nothing happened, and they finally got things done. But what was said here is, after reviewing recent federal tax receipts, our best estimate is that we will be unable to continue to satisfy all the government's obligations by early June and potentially as early as June 1st. If Congress does not raise or suspend the debt limit before that time. So looks like, June 1st is the new deadline, but what does that mean for us? Well, the big question is, what happens to Social Security payments if no debt ceiling deal is reached? Failure to reach a deal could potentially disrupt Social Security payments to roughly 70 million recipients, though some doubt any problems. So last month, Janet Yellen said a default on her debt would produce an economic and financial catastrophe. It is unlikely that the federal government would be able to issue payments to millions of Americans, including our military families and seniors who rely on Social Security. So some are saying that Social Security may not be able to make their monthly payments if the debt ceiling debt is not met, that the ceiling crisis is not expanded, or something is done about it. So it looks like Social Security could be in jeopardy, but others are saying it won't be. So I guess we'll have to find out and see before June 1st. I'll give you more details on that. Now, this comes as The White House says GOP debt ceiling plan would cause largest VA benefit cuts in U.S. history. So VA being Veterans Affairs. So the White House slammed Republican-backed legislation to raise the debt ceiling for no explicitly protecting veterans' health benefits from massive spending cuts, warning Tuesday of proposed historic slashes to the Department of Veteran Affairs. So the bill, which Republican-controlled House approved last week, would eliminate 81,000 Veterans Affairs jobs, produce 30 million fewer Veterans Affairs outpatient visits, and increase the disability backlog of veterans by 134,000, the White House memo said. Saying this, these draconian cuts to America's veterans have no precedent in America's history, and prioritizing tax welfare for wealthy special interests over honoring our commitments to those who have put their lives on the line for our country is backwards as politics gets. So looks like many veterans could be affected by this new bill. Now, we haven't heard a rebuttal from the Republicans yet about what's going on. McCarthy's office rejected the White House claims. McCarthy's spokesman said the Republicans will not cut veterans' benefits and will responsibly prioritize spending in the upcoming appropriate process. So that's all that was said to the White House's claims that the VA will be gutted. So we're not really sure what's going on. Another case of he said, she said, and we don't know what the truth is. We're hearing both sides of this, but that's a big claim by the White House. Now, when it comes to the debt ceiling overall and how it could potentially affect you, take a look at the Republican perspective on it right here.
An op-ed titled "Biden Demands Clean Lipstick for His Spending Pig," as excerpt reading. Democrats say Republicans must lift the debt limit with no strings attached and accept on trust the Biden gang's assertion that it will go along with spending restraint in a separate budget talk. Republican Senator Mike Lee of Utah is here, ranking member of the Joint Economic Committee, also serves on the Budget, Judiciary, and Energy Committees. Great to see you today. First of all, let's talk about this. Do you trust the White House on the back end of a deal in a separate talk to talk about cutting spending?
No, not at all. Look, this is a way the White House has of saying, heads we win, tails you lose. We're not going to fall for that. There's no chance that will work. We're using the same strategy, the same discussion, the same wisdom that Joe Biden himself embodied and expressed back in 1984, talking about the need when approaching a debt ceiling increase to deal with the actual spending problem. We need to do this now in connection with this debt ceiling bill. And by suggesting somehow that we ignore this, he's playing chicken with the American economy. Look, the House of Representatives under Speaker Kevin McCarthy's leadership and with the help of a whole lot of Republicans, they passed a really good deal, a really good compromise to increase the debt ceiling and at the same time reduce federal spending by $5 trillion over the next decade. We've got a growing list of Republicans signing onto a letter that I prepared, making clear that Republican senators are not going to support, we will not support cloture, bringing debate to a close on any debt ceiling bill that doesn't contain meaningful spending controls like those found in the House bill.
Well, you know, I do want to get to this because, and I just have to say this overall, the president's approval rating, Gallup just looked at it, they do every morning, 37%. He said he was going to bring the nation together. What is he doing right now?
Well, he's not doing a whole lot to bring the nation together, unless by the nation he meant the far left wing of the Democratic Party. He's great in unifying them. He's tearing everyone else apart. And he's doing that by saying a whole lot of things that are not true. Suggesting, for example, that somehow it's irresponsible to demand spending limitations in connection with a spending bill. Quite the opposite is true.
The Wall Street Journal editorial board calls all of it Chuck Schumer's debt default. It's asking, where is Chuck? He has denounced the House bill as dangerous with his usual nuance, but if he wants to avoid a default debt, he will have to pass a bill through the Senate. If he were serious about avoiding a default, as he claims to be, he'd sit down with House Speaker McCarthy and Senate Minority Leader McConnell. What's your response?
Yeah, it is absolutely true. That is what he needs to do, and he does have to get it through the Senate. To get it through the Senate, he has to achieve cloture. And in effect, what that means, Harris, is that as long as 41 Republicans are willing to say we're not going to just give the president what he wants and just pass this so-called clean debt ceiling increase, we're going to demand significant spending reforms in this. It cannot pass. It will not pass. So he's got to get in the game, because this is happening. In the meantime, the White House is flirting with this idea that's very dangerous, something they floated to the New York Times today, suggesting that somehow the Constitution makes it illegal, unconstitutional, to have a debt ceiling. This is utter science fiction fantasy, and it's dangerous. They're wrong. They know they're wrong, but they also know they're losing this legislative debate because the American people are demanding better as they're suffering under the yoke of inflation.
Look, I really want people to understand, because, you know, you hear Democrats talk about this and the world's going to blow up, and you hear Republicans talk about it and they want to save the nation from pain. So there's some pain potentially there. What is it if they can't reach a deal on the debt ceiling and just have a complete standoff on all of it?
Yeah, so that if there were no deal, then once we blow past what's known as the X date, the date by which the Treasury doesn't have any more means with which to borrow, its borrowing authority having lapsed, and it can't invoke these extraordinary measures anymore. And by the way, that's reported to be around June 1st, according to the Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. Once we go past that date, the Treasury can't issue any more bonds. It can't hold auctions. It can't issue more instruments of debt. And what that means is all of a sudden there would have to be a rapid prioritization of money as it comes through the door. You know, I assume they would pay interest on the debt
So,
first.
but what does that mean for Americans? Like you're sitting at your kitchen table. You've been paying such high prices for 2 years since Biden got into office. You've lost at least $8,000 on average of salary because of inflation each year he's been in office. What does this mean?
There's peril on either side of this. If we get into that moment where we just described, where we blow past the X date, all of a sudden a bunch of government programs are not going to be funded, and there will be great uncertainty as there is great flexibility in the Secretary of the Treasury to decide where the money goes. You don't know which government programs are going to be defunded, and so it's something we want to avoid.
Yes.
That's why there's a responsible way of handling this. If, on the other hand, Harris, if we just pass a so-called clean debt ceiling bill, one without any spending limitations, as President Biden has been demanding petulantly, what that does is also horrible, because what that does is perpetuate this massive Biden inflation that has been harming Americans. People in Utah are shelling out an additional $1,000 a month, every family, every single month, just because of the Biden inflation.
What are your thoughts on that? Are Americans doomed because of this debt ceiling crisis? Well, at this point, we're just hearing a lot of talk, and the Republicans are saying they want Biden and the Democrats to come to the negotiation table. But at this point, we're not seeing Democrats answer or respond to that. We're not seeing any meetings, no negotiations, just mainly the Republicans are calling for Biden to sit down. And Biden says that he wants to sit down with McCarthy and Mitch McConnell, but no meeting has been set yet. So I'll keep you updated on that. And that is all the news that I have for you today to hopefully brighten your day a bit. Here's my daughter Bella's tip of the day.
Hi guys, this is Bella. This is the tip of the day. I want to tell you the one thing you should do for when you're feeling down and you want to follow your wishes. Then do whatever you want. It's a free country here. You can do whatever you want. So bye guys. Have a good night or a good day.
Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate all of your support. So all is good here. Bella has a cheerleading camp or something. 3 hours on Saturday. So she's going to try out the whole cheerleading thing. She's not really for it, but figured, give it a try anyway and see how it goes. She's not really into that, but we'll see. I'll let you know how it goes. Anyways, hopefully you have a great rest of your day. If you want to check out the latest massage chair video by my friend's YouTube channel, you can check right here. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care, be safe. Thank you for watching.